It was a crisp autumn day when I said "I do" to the love of my life, Alex. Our wedding was perfect, a small, intimate affair with close friends and family, surrounded by the vibrant colors of fall. The ceremony was picturesque, the vows heartwarming, and the rings, a pair of exquisite bands, were a symbol of our eternal commitment. Little did we know that those rings would become the catalyst for a haunting ordeal that would test the very foundation of our marriage. The first signs of trouble appeared innocently enough. A week after the wedding, we began to bicker over trivial matters. The tone of our arguments, however, felt strangely amplified. What should have been minor disagreements escalated into heated disputes, leaving us both bewildered and emotionally drained. We dismissed it as post-wedding stress, the natural adjustment period every couple goes through. But then came the strange occurrences. One evening, as we argued over whose turn it was to do the dishes, the room grew icy cold. The windows rattled, and the air thickened with an unsettling tension. A voice, a faint, ghostly whisper, seemed to echo through the house, blaming our disputes on the rings we wore. We exchanged bewildered glances, unsure if we had both imagined it. The unease lingered, and we found ourselves avoiding eye contact with our own reflection in the mirrors. As weeks passed, the once happy home we had built together turned into a breeding ground for bizarre phenomena. Objects moved of their own accord, doors creaked open in the dead of night, and shadows danced menacingly along the walls. We felt a constant presence, a spectral force that fed on the discord between us. The more we argued, the stronger the paranormal activity became. Our rings, once gleaming symbols of unity, now felt like cursed relics. We considered removing them, but a strange compulsion held us back. It was as if the rings had become an inseparable part of us, fused to our very beings. The mere thought of parting with them sent shivers down our spines. Desperation set in, and we sought the help of paranormal experts, mediums, and priests. Each attempt to cleanse our home proved futile. The entities seemed to revel in our suffering, growing more malevolent with every failed intervention. Sleepless nights turned into exhausting days, and the strain on our relationship became palpable. One evening, as the clock struck midnight, an otherworldly glow emanated from our rings. The room filled with an ethereal mist, and a ghostly figure materialized before us. It was a spectral bride, her eyes filled with sadness and regret. She spoke of a tragic tale, a wedding day that ended in heartbreak and death. The rings we now wore were forged from the remains of the ill-fated couple's own bands, and they carried the weight of a curse that transcended time. The ghostly bride implored us to break the cycle, to find a way to lift the curse that bound her spirit to ours. As she faded away, the room returned to normal, leaving us breathless and shaken. The realization that our rings were conduits for a tormented soul haunted us, and we embarked on a quest for answers. Our journey led us to forgotten archives, dusty books, and aging town records. We uncovered the tragic tale of Eleanor and Thomas, a couple whose love story was cut short on their wedding day in the early 1900s. Eleanor, jilted at the altar, succumbed to despair and died on the same day she was supposed to say her vows. Thomas, heartbroken and guilt-ridden, perished in a tragic accident shortly thereafter. Armed with this knowledge, we sought out the resting place of the ill-fated couple. In an overgrown cemetery on the outskirts of town, we discovered their graves, forgotten, weathered stones that bore witness to a love that never had a chance to blossom. With trembling hands, we placed our curse rings on their final resting places, hoping to break the spectral connection that bound us. As the rings touched the cold, moss-covered stones, a sudden gust of wind swept through the graveyard. The ethereal mist returned, enveloping us in a swirl of energy. We felt the weight of the curse lifting, and a sense of peace settled over the once-haunted cemetery. The ghostly bride and groom appeared one last time, this time with smiles of gratitude, before fading into the afterlife. The paranormal occurrences ceased, and our home returned to a semblance of normalcy. The rings, now free of their haunted past, gleamed with a renewed luster. We kept them as a reminder of the trials we overcame, the love that persevered, and the spirits that found solace in our quest for redemption. Our marriage, once on the brink of collapse, emerged stronger than ever. The ordeal with the cursed wedding rings became a chapter in our love story, a tale of resilience, supernatural forces, and the enduring power of a bond that withstood the test of both the living and the dead. Our wedding day was a dream, a fairy tale crafted with love and promises for a lifetime together. The ceremony unfolded in a picturesque setting, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of gold and rose across the sky, my husband and I reveled in our first dance as a married couple. The room echoed with laughter and the tinkling of champagne glasses, creating a symphony of joy. In the days that followed, as we eagerly awaited the arrival of our wedding photographs, excitement mingled with anticipation. Our chosen photographer, a seasoned professional named Mr. Harland, assured us that the images would capture the essence of our special day. Little did we know that those captured moments would transcend mere memories and become a haunting enigma that tested the fabric of our marriage. The photographs arrived in an ornate package, the black and white images exuding an ethereal beauty that transported us back to that magical night. As we eagerly flipped through the glossy prints, our smiles faltered. In every photo, a ghostly figure stood in the background, a silhouette draped in a blood-stained wedding gown, reminiscent of Victorian-era elegance gone horribly awry. "What is this?" I gasped, clutching the photographs as though they held the key to an unsolved mystery. My husband, always the rational one, tried to ease my concerns, attributing the spectral image to a trick of the light or a quirk in the film. However, I couldn't shake the unease that settled in the pit of my stomach. Determined to unravel the mystery, I contacted Mr. Harland, our photographer. His studio, filled with the scent of developer chemicals, greeted us with an air of professionalism that belied the chilling undertones of our conversation. Mr. Harland listened intently as I described the mysterious figure, his expression growing more serious with each word. "You're not the first to report such anomalies," he admitted, his eyes betraying a mixture of reluctance and concern. "There have been whispers among photographers in the industry. Shadows and reflections that shouldn't be there, as if the past is bleeding into the present." He hesitated before continuing. "I've been in this business for decades, and I've encountered unexplainable phenomena, but this is different. There are tales of what some call mirror brides, apparitions tied to weddings, often harboring a tragic history." A shiver ran down my spine as he recounted stories of brides-to-be who met untimely demises on their wedding days, their spirits forever linked to the celebration they never truly experienced. The concept seemed absurd, but the evidence in our hands begged us to consider the unthinkable. Intrigued and unnerved, my husband and I delved into the history of our wedding venue, hoping to uncover any hidden tragedies that might explain the apparition in our photographs. As we combed through old newspapers and historical records, we stumbled upon a tale that sent chills down our spines. A bride from the late 1800s, jilted at the altar, who met her end in a fit of despair. Her name was Eleanor, and her ghostly presence seemed to align eerily with the figure in our photographs. The more we unearthed about her tragic tale, the more the lines between reality and the supernatural blurred. It became apparent that Eleanor's spirit, denied the joy of a wedding celebration in life, sought to make her presence known in the afterlife through the captured moments of others. Determined to confront the apparition head-on, my husband and I returned to our home, the place where the spectral bride had appeared in our first dance photos. As night descended, we recreated the scene, hoping to draw out the ghostly figure and perhaps find a way to ease her restless spirit. In the dim light of the room, with only the soft glow of candles to guide us, we danced once more, our movements careful and deliberate. The air seemed to thicken with tension, and a sense of anticipation hung in the room. As we twirled and swayed, the oppressive silence was shattered by a chilling breeze that rustled the curtains, causing them to dance as if touched by unseen hands. I felt a cold presence behind me, a phantom partner joining our dance. We dared not turn around, fearing what we might see. In that surreal moment, I sensed Eleanor's sorrow, the weight of a love denied and dreams shattered. The room seemed to pulse with energy, and when we finally opened our eyes, the air was still. The apparition, it seemed, had dissipated, leaving us with a strange sense of closure. In the days that followed, the photographs taken during our eerie dance revealed no trace of the mirror bride. It was as if Eleanor had found solace in our acknowledgement of her presence, allowing her spirit to find rest. Our marriage, once touched by the supernatural, began to heal, the specter of the mirror bride gradually fading into the mists of memory. Yet, even as the photographs returned to normal, we couldn't shake the feeling that our encounter with the supernatural had forever altered the course of our lives. The mirror bride, a tragic soul from a bygone era, had woven her story into the fabric of our own, leaving us with a tale to share, a tale of love, loss, and a dance with the ghostly echoes of a wedding long past. As I stepped into the ethereal glow of the candlelit room, my heart raced with the anticipation of marrying the love of my life. My ivory wedding gown cascaded down my frame, and the air buzzed with excitement and the soft murmur of guests outside. The historical estate, adorned with vintage charm, set the perfect stage for our fairy tale wedding. However, when preparing, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Glancing around the room, my eyes caught a glimpse of a mysterious figure in the corner, an enigmatic photographer shrouded in shadows. His silhouette was obscured by the dim light, and an antique camera hung from his neck. Despite the oddity of his presence, I dismissed it as the whimsical touch of the venue. I assumed he was part of the hired photography team, capturing candid moments in his own unique way. Little did I know that this photographer would cast a spectral veil over the cherished memories of our special day. The ceremony unfolded seamlessly, and we exchanged vows beneath the arch of white roses. As the evening progressed, the phantom photographer discreetly moved through the crowd, capturing moments with an eerie precision. He never spoke a word, and his face remained hidden beneath the brim of an old-fashioned hat. When the time came for the official photographs, he disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind an air of mystery. Weeks later, as we excitedly opened the carefully packaged wedding photos, a shiver crawled down my spine. The images were hauntingly beautiful, each frame an encapsulation of love and joy. However, upon closer inspection, I noticed something chilling, a subtle figure lingering in the background of each photograph, a figure that bore no resemblance to any guest present at the ceremony. In one photo, the phantom photographer stood near the entrance, his face still hidden, but his presence undeniable. In another, he lingered behind our first dance, a ghostly specter capturing the essence of our union. I showed the pictures to my husband, his eyes widening in disbelief. The joyous memories we thought we had captured were tainted by the presence of an uninvited guest. We contacted the photography team, desperate for an explanation. To our astonishment, they claimed ignorance, insisting that no additional photographer had been hired for our wedding. Panic set in as we realized that the mysterious figure was not a member of the photography crew or any known guest. As the years passed, the enigma of the phantom photographer continued to unravel. Friends who received copies of our wedding photos began sharing their own eerie experiences. Some claimed to have glimpsed a shadowy figure in the background when they stared at the images for too long, while others swore they heard a faint clicking sound, reminiscent of an antique camera, whenever the pictures were displayed. The presence of the phantom photographer became a chilling mystery that infiltrated our lives. We tried to crop or digitally edit him out of the photos, but he persisted, a silent witness to the unfolding chapters of our marriage. His ghostly figure became an unspoken specter, casting doubt on the authenticity of our most cherished memories. As time went on, we became consumed by an overwhelming sense of foreboding. Our once happy home now echoed with whispers of an unseen presence. Objects shifted mysteriously, and a cold breeze seemed to follow us through the rooms. The ghostly figure from our wedding photos manifested itself in our daily lives, a silent reminder that something otherworldly had attached itself to our union. The male photographer, with his antique camera and shadowy visage, became an indelible part of our love story, a story haunted by the unexplainable, where each captured moment held the weight of a spectral secret. The beauty of our wedding day was forever entwined with the eerie presence that lurked in the background. Our wedding was an intimate affair, set in a charming countryside estate with only our closest friends and family. The sun dipped below the horizon as we exchanged vows, casting a warm glow on the gathered faces. Laughter and joy permeated the air, and the promise of a lifetime together hung between us like a delicate fragrance. Little did we know, the scent of happiness would soon be tainted by an inexplicable darkness. The evening unfolded with an elegant dinner beneath a canopy of fairy lights, creating a magical ambience. The air was filled with the clinking of glasses, the hum of conversation, and the soft melodies of a string quartet. Our guests, a mix of lifelong friends and cherished family members, reveled in the celebration. Everything seemed perfect until we noticed the first empty chair. At first, it seemed like a simple oversight, a guest stepping away for a moment, perhaps to visit the restroom or take a call. But as the night wore on, more chairs sat vacant, creating a disconcerting pattern. My husband and I exchanged concerned glances, attempting to brush off the oddity as the result of an exceptionally spirited party. It was during the cutting of the cake that the disquiet deepened. The sweet aroma of vanilla and frosting filled the air, and we turned to share this joyous moment with our guests. However, the sea of faces we expected to see had diminished. The once bustling tables now displayed a disconcerting number of empty seats. Panic set in as we approached our friends and family, seeking an explanation for the vanishing guests. Each person we questioned wore a perplexed expression, insisting they had no knowledge of anyone leaving. It was as if our loved ones had been plucked from the celebration without a trace. The atmosphere turned icy, and a hushed tension blanketed the gathering. The string quartet played on, the haunting notes of their music echoing through the dimly lit courtyard. Whispers circulated among the remaining guests, their eyes betraying a mix of confusion and fear. The vanishing act had cast an eerie pall over our once vibrant celebration. Desperation led us to investigate further. We scoured the venue, its lush gardens and dimly lit corners, calling out names into the still night. But our pleas were met with silence. The estate, once alive with the sounds of noise, now seemed to absorb our voices, swallowing them whole. As the hours passed, the emptiness became more noticeable. The dance floor, once a lively stage for celebration, now felt like a desolate space. The flickering candlelight cast long shadows on the empty chairs, each one a reminder of the void left by our mysteriously absent guests. Exhausted and bewildered, we gathered those who remained and decided to call it a night. Our wedding, which began as a joyous celebration, had taken an unexpected turn into the realms of the inexplicable. As we bid farewell to the dwindling number of guests, we couldn't shake the feeling that something otherworldly had transpired. Days turned into weeks, and the mystery of the vanishing guests remained unsolved. We pored over photographs, hoping to find a clue or a trace of the missing faces. In the pictures, the empty chairs mocked us, their vacancy a haunting reminder of the inexplicable events that unfolded on our wedding night. Rumors began to circulate among those who attended, weaving tales of supernatural forces at play. Some spoke of ancient curses that befell those who dared to celebrate in certain locales. Others whispered about spirits of the past, resentful of the living intruding on their sacred grounds. The once buzzing community now tiptoed around us, their eyes reflecting a mixture of pity and fear. As the years passed, the memory of that peculiar night lingered like a ghost. Our marriage, initially vibrant and filled with promise, began to bear the weight of the unresolved mystery. We questioned our sanity, the reliability of our memories, and the very fabric of reality. The vanishing guests had left an indelible mark on our lives, a shadow that clung to the edges of our happiness. Despite attempts to move forward, the questions lingered. The uncertainty gnawed at the edges of our love, introducing an element of doubt that, like the vanished guests, refused to be ignored. In the end, the vanishing guests became more than a peculiar wedding night tale. They became a metaphor for the enigmatic nature of life and the transient quality of joy. The chairs, once occupied by laughter and shared stories, now stood as silent witnesses to a mystery that eluded explanation. Our wedding album, once a cherished keepsake, became a haunting chronicle of the inexplicable. Each photograph told a story of celebration tainted by the unknown, of love tested by forces beyond our comprehension. And as we gazed upon the images of empty chairs, we couldn't escape the chilling realization that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved, lurking in the shadows of our most cherished memories.